Hi, I'm Teen Librarian Alejandria, and today I'm going to be showing you how to make the craft for Anime Club in a Box. We're going to be making a UA High School pennant from My Hero Academia. The box comes with a 9 by 12 inch sheet of blue felt, it comes with a 9 by 1 inch strip of black felt, and it comes with a medium sized rectangle of white felt. The box also comes with a couple templates. The first is the triangle that'll make your pennant, so you'd cut along these lines. And it also comes with a template for the UA symbol that we're going to be using on our flag. This project involves some sewing, so we've provided you with some black and some white thread. And we've also given you some needles. One is a sewing needle and the other two are ballpoint needles to help you keep your stuff in place. Just be careful with these. Some things that aren't in the box that you're going to need are a pair of scissors. And if you would like, you can use masking tape instead of needles to keep your fabric in place while you sew. Okay, so step one, grab your blue felt and grab your template for the triangle. It should fit exactly. Both of them are 9 by 12 inches. Just line it up as best as you can. And you're then going to go ahead and you can use tape if you'd like to tape the sides and keep it in place. Or if you feel comfortable, you can use the ballpoint pins. Now when you're doing this project, just be careful that you know where your pins are, especially if you have younger brothers or sisters, or if you have animals. You just want to make sure that those pins go back on the note card or that you know where they are. If you've never done any pinning for sewing, you just want to make sure that you're putting the pin down through both the template and the felt, and just bring it back up so the tip is just pointing out, just like this. Now that we have it pinned on, we're going to cut along the black lines here so that we're just left with a triangle. Okay, so now I'm just going to go ahead and unpin my template and remove it from my blue fabric. And then I'm left with my triangle that I'm going to use as the body of my pennant. We also need to cut out the UA symbol that's going to go on our flag. So the template should fit onto your rectangle here. You're just going to go ahead and pin it. I usually start by pinning the two larger sides. This is going to be a little harder to cut out than the previous shape because it's got several spots where there's tight turns or there's spots that are inside for the A's, so it might just take you a little bit longer. My tip for cutting this out would be to start with where you can do a straight line. So like right up here, I can just basically grab my pair of scissors and cut in a straight line and take off that top part. And again, here's another straight line, so I'm just going to go take my scissors and cut across that as well. Now that the outline is cut out, we have to cut out these insides of the A's. So I'm just going to go ahead and move my pins over so that it doesn't shift too much while I'm cutting out those center parts. To cut out the center, I suggest that you fold this over right here and just make a little snip with your scissors so that you have space to kind of put your scissors in there and cut around just like this. Okay, I've got the first center part cut out, so now I'm going to move on to the next one. This one will be a little bit easier because it is a little bit bigger, so I'm just going to go ahead and fold that over again. And again, make a little snip with my scissors so that I can get the scissors inside there and cut out the center. Okay, so I've got both of the centers cut out, and I'm just going to go ahead and unpin and take off the template so that I can look at what I've done. And there's a couple of spots I just want to clean up, so I'm just going to take my scissors and make them a little bit more of a straight line. So now we've got to the sewing part of this project. For this first part, you're going to thread your needle with white thread. However, I'm going to use orange so that you can see it a little easier. If you've never threaded a needle before, there's a little spot at the top where there's a circle, and this is called the eye of your needle. There you can kind of see it right here. And this is the part where you're going to put the thread through. Now, for this project, I also want to make sure that my thread is double threaded. So what I'm going to do, what that means is basically that I'm going to knot both ends of my thread together. So as you can see, there's two strands here and they're knotted at the bottom. I'm going to put this to the side while I make sure that my UA symbol is center down there and it's where I want it. I'm also going to make sure that I've got the other part I'm going to sew on later on there so that I make sure everything fits. Once I've got this done, I'm going to go ahead and pin that so that it stays nice and flat on there while I'm starting to sew. The first stitch we're going to use is called a whip stitch. And for this stitch, we're going to kind of applique this on. I'm going to push the needle through the back of my project. I'm not actually putting it through the white when it's coming up like this, but I'm going to pull it gently until that knot is on the back side. When the needle goes back down through the front side, it is going to go through the white felt. So I'm going to push it down on the white felt. It's going to be in a vertical position from where it came up. I'm just going to do that nice and slowly so that it doesn't get tangled or twisted. And I'm going to keep doing this all the way around the outside. Okay, so I've got one stitch, so now I need to continue doing the same thing. When you're going around, you want your stitches to be kind of an even length apart. So it's not going to take much to keep this on here, so I'm actually going to spread my stitches a little bit apart. Now you can see on the back side that your stitches are kind of going to look like this diagonally, and that's because when you put your needle back in through, you're moving it diagonal. So here I have a number of stitches, and I've just gone along this way, continuing the stitches, and they're not exactly even, but they're pretty good. This is what the back side looks like. But as you can see, I'm running out of thread. You don't want to go until there's absolutely no thread because you'll have no way to knot it. This is how I'm going to go ahead and knot it. I'm going to just kind of put my finger here on the knot and pull so that it creates a knot. I'm actually going to double knot this. And I find it easier to do while I still have the needle on there. Okay, and once you've got your knot secure, go ahead and cut so that there's not a whole bunch of string hanging off there. And at this point, you're going to have to rethread your needle. Alright, so here I'm going to rethread my needle, and of course I'm still using orange so that you can kind of see what stitches I'm doing a little easier, but you'll be rethreading with white thread. It might take a couple of times to get your end of your thread through the eye of your needle, but keep at it. And here I've got it, so I'm going to pull that end until it meets the other end of the thread that I've cut. And I'm going to take those ends and I'm going to go ahead and knot them together. Now that I've rethreaded my needle, I can continue where I left off. So when you've done that, just continue doing your stitch all the way around. You may have to rethread your needle a couple of times, but that's okay. Okay, so now I've made it all the way around with my stitches. And this is what the back side looks like. So you can see I've got a couple of knots here because I did have to change my thread a couple of times. Just a reminder that I am using orange thread so it stands out, but you're going to be using white thread for this part, so it's actually going to blend in a bit more, and it's a little bit more forgiving if you have any mistakes. Now we're going to go ahead and add this black strip of felt to the short end of the triangle. Just kind of like this. Just make sure that they overlap a little bit, and make sure that when you pin them they are still overlapped so that when we sew them we're sewing both strips of felt together. We're going to use a running stitch to attach these two together. I'm going to go ahead and continue to use orange thread, but you can use black thread to attach these together so that you don't really see it. So go ahead and put your needle through both pieces of fabric, both the blue and the black, at the top here. Pull it down, pull it all the way through, and then push it back down. They're kind of just going to be going in a straight line. So I'm going to go back and bring my needle through both strips of fabric again and pull it all the way through. So just keep doing this all the way down to the bottom. Try to be somewhat consistent with the length between your stitches. I'm not a perfect hand sewer, so sometimes my stitches aren't exactly perfect. But if you're doing this, you're also going to be using black thread. So if you do make some mistakes or things aren't completely even or neat, it's not going to be really visible and it'll be totally fine. Once you pass the part where this pin needs to be in, you can go ahead and take it out and put it on your index card or somewhere there where you know it is. I just do that so that maybe I don't accidentally poke myself unnecessarily. Okay, so now that you've seen this stitch a couple times, I'm going to go ahead and speed up the second half of this part. Okay, so we're getting to the end of our running stitch. We maybe only have a couple more stitches left to do. So we just want to make sure that we're paying attention because we want to end this row with the needle coming to the back, our work side of our project. Okay, so our needle's back on the front side of our work, and we're going to bring it back one more time, getting it as close to the edge as I can, because I know this is going to be the last time I pull my thread through. Okay, so here's where I'm going to knot it. Now to knot it, I'm just going to go ahead and twist my thread like this, put the needle through the middle, pull it through, find where that knot connects, and just put my finger there and pull it all the way through so that the knot gets as close as I can to my felt. Make sure to gather the needles and pins that you use for this project and put them back on the note card and put them somewhere secure, especially if you have younger siblings or pets that might get a hold of them on accident. And here's what my completed project looks like. So this is the front. And here's the back. This is the part that people aren't going to see because you might put it on your wall or hang it somewhere. But of course yours is going to look a little more like this when you use the black and the white thread instead of the orange. If you'd like to sign up for future Teens to Go boxes, you can do that by going to the events calendar on the Kenosha Public Library's website at mykpl.info, or you can give us a call at 262-564-6150. If you'd like to share your projects with us, you can go over to Instagram and find us at KPL Teens.